Good morning. I call to order the meeting, the second regular board meeting of the Directors of Butte Irrigation District for Wednesday, May 28th, 2025. Mr. Esslinger, would you please give us
Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you and give you honor and glory for who you are. Father God, watch over this board today and bless them, Father God. Give them wisdom, knowledge, and understanding as to the decisions they have to make for the district. Father God, we just ask that you bless them mightily. Father God, send the rains this summer, Father God, to this dry land. And Father God, let it nourish our crops and be a blessing to these farmers who need this moisture. Father God, we thank you for this day. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Director Colquitt, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Welcome to our guests. If we would introduce those that are present first.
Alfred Peralt, Jeremy Miller, reporter of Country Trees, here to tell a story about water and agriculture on the region. Thanks for having me.
I'm Rita Price with the EBID.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, would you please announce those who are present online?
Yes, Mr. President. We have Anthony Collin from NMDA, Delise Maciel from EBID, Joa Franzoy, EBID, Mark T, and Phil King.
Thank you very much. I welcome you all. Appreciate you attending our board meeting today. Next item is the approval of minutes. You have the minutes for the May 14th, 2025 regular board meeting in your board packet. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, I will accept a motion to approve the minutes of May 14th, 2025.
I make a motion to approve the minutes, May 14, 25.
Second. I have a motion from Director Colquitt, seconded by Director Chris, to approve the minutes of May 14th, 2025. Any further discussion? Hearing none, discussion is closed. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. President, the ayes have it. The motion passes unanimously. We have a grant advisory presentation from Dig Deep. Are they present online? I think so.
Yes, they are.
Is that who Mark T was?
No, they popped up right after I had
Okay.
finished.
Hello,
Good morning.
everyone. Hi there. Hello. How is everyone today?
I am well. Are you Tia?
I am Tia Cavender, Dig Deep Research.
Welcome, Tia Cavender. You have the floor.
All right, great. Well, thank you for inviting me today. I was hoping to be there in person, but was unable to swing it after all. So I'd like to apologize for not being in person. That was my intent, but thanks. I understand I've got about 15 minutes, so I'm just going to jump right into it. Can everyone hear me okay and see
Yes.
my
Yes, we can.
screen? I'm going to go ahead and show my screen here for a second. Actually, I'll wait here for a minute here. Great. Well, thank you very much for inviting me. I wanted to just introduce myself to tell you about a little bit about our business, Dig Deep Research. We are here today to follow up on conversations that I've had with both Gary Esslinger as well as Joa, and specifically to talk about the ways in which the district and our firm Dig Deep could help the district meet its fundraising goals. Gary and I met a number of years ago. I think it was 2013 at an irrigation leader workshop that I was presenting at in Arizona. And so we always see each other at that particular workshop, and he reached out, I think it was in December, to let me know that there might be some need, there might be a match between the district's need and in our firm. And so it's very clear that you guys as a district know very well how to secure and administer not only grants, but cooperative agreements, given that how much federal funding you've received in the past. So my intent is really just to help show the way in which we could help enhance and provide a greater level of support than what currently might be available. So my understanding of the problem, which is a shared problem, not just in your district, but all across the country, is that there's a lot of aging infrastructure, really not enough money to take care of it without having to increase water rates. And of course, we're all trying to avoid that as much as possible. And so, so knowing that you guys are in capable hands, what our solution is to help provide a greater level of support is what we call our advisory services. And so I'm going to pull that just a description of that up. Well, actually, I did send ahead of time the statement of qualifications. So the advisory services are listed there. Really, what we focus on with our advisory services is being a resource that your staff can call at any point in time. So as everyone knows, there's no such thing as one repository or one location where you can get your questions answered. And so our advisory services is our attempt to be available to to clients as they need it, not just when they have a question that comes across from grant guidance, but in the moment, those real-time responses. If the board has a question going back, hey, what did you think about this? So that's the service that we that we believe fits the best with what we've seen of the district. So a couple things that there are several things that make us very different than your typical consulting firm. For one, we are definitely in the mindset of helping your district increase its capacity, be able to learn how to do these things and gain the ability to provide the technical assistance in-house whenever possible. So, so that's one thing that makes us very different, is that we're more a resource that helps the district, rather than a consultant that comes in, does everything for a grant, and then submits it on your behalf, and then you get it later. So that's one of the things that I'd like to mention, that our work is very much in a long-term engagement. So so what we do, and which again makes it not necessarily a fit for everyone, but typically our clients add us to their budget for 1 year, and they end up receiving so much benefit that they just don't ever stop. And so for instance, right now we've got a handful of clients. We work with a small number of clients at any point in time, because we do provide so much support to those clients. But right now, 100% of the clients we're working with have been with us for over 4 years. In fact, every single client we're working with right now has been working with us nonstop for at least 50 months or more, because not only are they getting the value, but our services pay for themselves many, many times over. I'll get to that, the way in which we do that in a moment. In fact, one of our biggest clients has been with us for 13 years. And so they've received our services nonstop for 156 months. And so one of the reasons why that's the case is because not only do our services, are they eligible under many grant programs, but also they pay for themselves many times over. So typically it takes about 12 to 18 months to get deliver a return on investment of 100%. All of our clients have attained that minimum. Usually after 2 years, they start to see at least a 300% return on investment. And usually by the 3rd year, they are receiving a 600 return on investment. And I know that sounds too good to be true, but we have all the data to support that as well. And really, ultimately, what it ends up being is that the magic of our work is that you're getting information that you wouldn't necessarily have access to otherwise, not just because of the relationships that we have with the funding agencies, but because of our knowledge of the funding landscape, what it takes to actually win a grant, and how to leverage those and prioritize them so that you're taking the existing funds that you have, whether they be through your water revenues or through the federal cooperative agreements that you're getting, but using those to leverage and be more competitive to secure matching funds. So ultimately, I think that's the biggest challenge you guys have, because you've received so much funding and you're getting so much funding from the federal government. Securing that 25% match is something that we can help you identify state sources to do that, as well as, or to help you capture the expenses that you're already paying with your existing budget to count as those eligible, the eligible match. So one other thing, I'm going to take a break here in a minute, but one other thing I'll mention is that, because we work with only a few clients right now, we have an open spot right now, because one of our clients actually we had raised so much money for them in the past couple of years, and their staff capacity hasn't been able to manage all of the funding that we've brought in. So for those reasons, we kind of we turned off the spigot a little bit, took a break, hibernated while the federal funding freeze is happening. And so for that particular client, we did have even more substantial benefits than others. In fact, had we not been working with them, they would have had to increase their water rates monthly, $44 per month per household connection for over 12 years. And so that's one of the success stories that I'd be glad to share. Right now, though, I'm going to stop talking and let you guys answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much, Tia. Questions from the board? Director Colquitt.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. Let's see if I can read my handwriting. You work, or do you work with other water districts as well? Okay. Have you worked in New Mexico before?
No, we
Okay.
have not. We have not worked in New Mexico before.
Okay.
But that does not concern us, because we work in all states in the Western US, primarily the ones that serve USBR, or excuse me, that are served by USBR. And so we've done work in Arizona, Washington, Texas, Idaho, Hawaii, California, Florida, Wyoming.
Okay.
So in terms of the state grants that are available and the federal grants are available, we know of all of those. And the state grants, that's part of our research, is where we actually dig deeper than that you can find online. So, and we also, a big part of our services is to build relationships with the state funding agencies and with the district. So what we'll do as part of our advisory services is what we call our funder cultivation events. And so if we know that you have a project that fits with one of the state funding agencies, then we would set up a meeting on screen with those funding agencies to help you build a relationship and to help them become an advocate for your project, really to understand and get committed to the project before you're going to ask them for money. So it's part of the overall long-term funding strategy. So that's one other thing I'll say is that if you're looking for a one and done, you guys need one grant, you need someone to come in and do it, we're not your best fit.
Tia, let me interrupt you if I may, before we go too much further down this. Director Colquitt, if you would please scope your questions in a way that are about grant services in general.
Okay.
We are not interviewing Dig Deep today.
That
That would be in an RFP selection process.
Okay.
And inappropriate for today.
Could we ask how much the services cost, or is that?
Again, that's probably in the RFP. You know,
Okay.
what they charge is irrelevant today for our understanding of whether or not we want to go forward with putting out an RFP for
This?
grant assistance services.
Okay. Yeah, I think that buttons it up for me.
Director Roverosa.
Good morning, Tia. Could you walk us through what your typical process is from beginning to end? Is that an appropriate question? Sure.
Certainly. So I'll just give you 1 month snapshot of what 1 month of advisory services might look like. So the first and foremost is that we set up regular meetings with the staff that are going to be involved. So the people that need to build the capacity, I'm guessing it would be Joa at this point, and any staff members that he wants to also benefit from this information. What we do is we really ask a lot of questions. We evaluate of all the projects that you have right now that are a priority. My understanding is that you guys have hundreds of millions of dollars in projects that are coming up in the next 10 years. So what we do is we evaluate those projects that you know are out there, regardless of whether or not they have funding. What our job is to identify of the capital improvements that you need to do, which ones match to the existing or the current funding sources that are out there. And so that's one of the most critical differences between our firm and others, is that the majority of people are going to come with, most districts, most local governments, water districts are going to put out an RFP and say, we have one project that needs funding. And so, so if you have, then there's lots of people who might know about that. An engineering firm might come and pursue that one grant. Our approach is entirely different. We help you identify which grants you're going to get far, far before they pop up on your screen as, hey, this grant application is due in 6 weeks. So it's very much strategic planning. So I want to clarify that we are not grant writers. Of course, we can write grants and we can do them for all different types, but the place that we know we can help the most is with water grants. And a lot of times the way we can help you is by preventing you from going for something that it just simply isn't either competitive enough to win or isn't going to align with the other grants that you have going on. And so for those reasons, we are very different. I would also say that RFPs, the way that typical districts move forward and putting out an RFP is not typically the way that we do it. In fact, we've been here since 2010, and the number of RFP and proposals that we've submitted has been 2. In 15 years, we've worked with over 4 dozen communities, and we've only responded to 2 RFPs. And the reason for that is because RFPs are written the way that people need that one particular funding for that project. So almost all of our work is sole sourced, And also for the clients that we did submit the RFP, those actually rolled over multiple times. And so again, that's where once you start to see the benefit, you see that this approach is very different, and off we go.
Thank you, Tia.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. I appreciate your time and your presentation today.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Next item on our agenda is the approval of the May 30th, 2025 release date. We did not approve the specific release date in discussions with management. We do typically approve the release date. It didn't seem to be an item that was debatable this year, that like we knew when the water was coming, and so I intentionally did not ask for that motion. Upon further review, that likely was a mistake. So what I'm asking for today is for the board to formally approve the May 30th, 2025 release date and season start.
I move to approve the May 30th, 2025 release date for.
Mr. Chairman,
One moment, Dr. King. Do I have a second?
pardon me for interrupting.
I have a motion from Director Rovirosa, seconded by Director Garai, to approve the release date of May 30th, 2025 and the season start. Dr. King, you have the floor.
Thank you. Sorry about that. We got a request from the Bureau of Reclamation yesterday to delay the start time of the release from 6 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock. And one possibility would be to start with a low release, like 200 CFS, just to kind of test the system and fill up the area between Caballo Dam and Percha Dam, a 200 CFS release starting late in the afternoon on the 29th. And then we would do the big release at 8 o'clock in the morning on the 30th. This is still open to debate, but if you could give us the flexibility to do the preliminary release on the 29th and the major release on the 30th, that would be.
I would like to amend my motion to give Reclamation the flexibility to release on the 29th or the 30th.
So Director Rovirosa presents an amended motion to approve a release date of the 29th or the 30th with the flexibility given to Reclamation on how to manage the specific timing of that. Director Garai seconds that motion. Let me be sure I stated that correctly. Director Rovirosa moves to approve a release date of May 29th or 30th to be determined by Reclamation. Discussion on the motion. Dr. King, do you believe that motion satisfies the request you've received from Reclamation?
Mr. Chairman, yes, I do. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
It was originally going to be 500 acre feet release, and they're dropping it to.
CFS.
I'm sorry, yeah, CFS. Now they're dropping it to 200?
I don't know exactly what the timing of all that and the flows.
Yeah.
It's operational.
Yes.
That's Dr. King's problem.
Yeah.
The date is our issue.
Yeah.
With the big piece being, if this board were to decide we don't want the water, we do not want the water starting on May 30th. We want it starting on some other date, very different date. That would be what this board would need to be deciding. The specifics of how they operationally handle that is up to operations. Any other discussion? Hearing none, discussion is closed. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Being the president, the ayes have it. The motion passes unanimously. We have approved a release date of May 29th and 30th to be determined by Reclamation. Thank you, Dr. King.
Thank you.
That brings us to the Infrastructure and Capital Improvement Plan. Mr. Rovirosa, is that your committee?
That is Mr. Garai's committee, but I can go through the report.
Director Garai, how would you like to handle the presentation of that report?
It says here that Josh Smith is gonna have it.
So I'm just going to hand it to you, Mr. Chairman, for that and allow you to direct that presentation as requested. Director Garai, you have the floor.
Okay, let me open that one. Give me a second.
So just really quickly, I'm not sure that everyone understands what an infrastructure and capital improvement plan is, which is what we're talking about today. So the state of New Mexico has a process by which we apply for state funding from the legislature, from the Water Trust Board, from these other funds that they have created. And basically, governmental entities within the state of New Mexico have to have an ICIP, don't have to, but if you expect to obtain funding, you have to have an ICIP. So essentially, it is a list of projects and priorities that are outside of our normal budget that we are seeking funding to complete.
So we met on May 28th. The committee consists of myself, Henry, Robiosa, Preston Tharp, and we also had Josh Smith, Joa, Leo Barrett, Patrick Lopez, Alex Rubio, Leah Johnston, and Marilyn Crawford were all president, and our lobbyist for EBID, Sky DeVore. We discussed plans to create an infrastructure capital improvement plan. We have a deadline of June 13th, so we're kind of in a rush to get all this approved. We created an initial pool of projects that we believe have priority. I don't know if it's in everybody's packet, but I have it on my deal from Rafa. It should be included in there. And like Josh said, it's just the ICIP is a planning tool which will establish priorities and anticipated infrastructure projects for all our infrastructure that is in need of improvement. There's a graph showing how the process is in the packet, and let me get you an update on the second one. So the second one, we made an improvement priority list in the water conveyance improvements. We talked about the automation of our diversion dams, lining and automation of the Leesburg Canal, as well as the West Side Canal, East Side Canal, and the Array Canal, piping and automation of laterals.
Director Garai.
Yes.
In the board packet, at the very end, there's the 11 priorities that we selected. I think we should go over those.
So we don't need to go over them right now. That's the next item on the agenda is actually public input. We need to explain those to the public.
Okay.
And so.
Okay, well, basically, that's what we did. We created 11 priorities, which we're gonna go over and have a public input here in a little bit. As Josh said, we'll be getting to that here in a little bit, so we'll follow up on that when we get to that part of the agenda. You have anything else to add, Josh?
No.
Thank you, Director Garai. Questions of the committee?
In that board packet, that, there's a diagram. That's impressive. Who did that?
I believe the state of New Mexico.
Ah,
It's impressive that Rafa found it and put it in.
really? Yeah, no. Hey, it's nice to see it in front of you.
And I gave the state credit where credit was due. So
Hey, there you go.
I appreciate the work of the committee very much. This is a process that we've needed to complete at the board level for the district for a number of years. And so I'm grateful to the committee for starting that process. I have a question on the things that we need to accomplish between now and I believe it was June 13th is the deadline. I believe we're going to need a resolution from this board
Mr. Chair, the plan is we are required to have a public input session, which we're about to have.
Okay,
And then the June 11th board meeting is our next board meeting. We will adopt the resolution at that board meeting approving the ICIP. So this is just a list. This is not, nothing has been inputted. There's a lot of background work that has to be done on each one of these items, and a lot of information has to be provided to the ICIP system. So by the meeting, first meeting in June, we will have the actual plan and the resolution for the board to approve so that we can submit it by that Friday, the 13th.
excellent. Thank you very much. That answers the questions I had. Any further questions from the board? All right, before I get back to the agenda, I believe, Mr. Smith, you said the next item is the public input portion of this.
Yes.
So I will hand it to you to initiate that. Mr. Smith.
So as Director Garai stated, we met last week and had an initial ICIP planning session and tried to identify what the top priorities for the district are currently. You know, I kind of explained, I've always done these with the assistance of an outside engineering firm who have done what we call a PER, which is a preliminary engineering, preliminary engineering requirement report. They define what a system needs to upgrade, improve, whatever the case may be. So our engineering staff, operations staff, maintenance, we all sat down and discussed what the district needs that we can't currently afford within our existing budget. And I think we had 20 or 30 items that we'd actually discussed, and we narrowed it down to 11 for the purposes of this ICIP. So the thing to remember is this changes every year. And if we find funding from the federal government or some other source for one of these projects, next year we just take it off the ICIP, move things up. We can reorder it however we would like, but we just need to get the process started so that we can learn how the process works, so that we can build and grow on our initial ICIP. So priority number one is the upgrade of the Mesilla Diversion Dam, including automation, emergency backup power, basically putting motors on all the gates and automating the dam. Second is the purchase of equipment, heavy equipment for water conservation infrastructure projects, public safety, equipment that we typically cannot afford within our existing budget. The third priority is a repeater building on Robledo Mountain. So our system, our SCADA system, runs off of a repeater on Robledo, and apparently staff has said that that building is a necessity. And we also have a request for a 40-foot repeater tower to be constructed up there. Priority number 4 is upgrades to the fabrication shop, including the construction of an office and the installation of bathrooms. Number 5 is a new mechanic shop, replacing the existing mechanic shop. 6 is the lining and automation of the Leesburg Canal. And what we mean by automation is all of the checks will be either retrofitted or replaced with radio gates or gates that can be operated from a computer system. 7 is piping of laterals that are close to roads, important intersections, or in highly populated areas. We've identified a couple of those laterals and areas. The one that comes to mind is the intersection of the East Side Canal and Highway 28, where people have a tendency to drive vehicles into our canals. We'd like to be able to pipe or cover that for some distance in each direction to hopefully prevent that from happening anymore. We have canals that are very close to roads. We have canals that are in very highly populated areas that are terraformed, and we don't want them going out and washing people away. So item or priority number 8 is an early warning system for flooding. My understanding is this system has been started but never really completed. And that would be telemetry and rain gauges and measuring behind our dams to identify flood flows and volumes of water before we have problems. 9 is the Picacho Flume, which is a flume crossing the Rio Grande near Shalem Colony, actually replacing that flume with a siphon that would pass under the river. And then item number 10 is sediment capture and water holding ponds. There are several different projects that have been identified relative to that priority. And finally, public notice, safety notices and signage. We do have no trespassing signage, but swift water and signs on roadways where, you know, there are potential issues. I think that would be a priority. So that's what the committee has come up with. The purpose of this meeting is to have the board discuss, accept public input if you all have any input. We can adjust the priority, we can add and remove projects. It is now open for your input.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. Mr. Lutz, just to be sure that I've got my procedure correct for public input. I'm accustomed to public giving comments first, and once the public has finished providing their comments, bringing it back to the board to discuss those public comments and the presentation by staff. Is that the appropriate procedure for this?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Lutz. With that, is there anyone present who would wish to give input on our proposed ICIP project priority list? We'll start with folks that are present physically. Hearing none.
Somebody put something in the chat.
Thank you. That was Mark T. identifying himself. Scroll down and be sure there's no additional messages, if you would, please. Thank you. If you would bring up the participant list. Is there anybody present online that wishes to provide public input on our proposed ICIP project priority list? Hearing none, if I've missed someone from the public and you're working on getting yourself unmuted, please feel free to chime in and interrupt us so that I can recognize you. That said, I'm going to bring it back to the board. Board discussion on the proposed priority list, including its order. My general comment is, I agree with all of the things that are on this list as being things that are needed by this district and that are difficult to fund through our existing assessment process. I support submitting this ICIP process, this ICIP project priority list as presented, with the knowledge that we will be reviewing this annually and can adjust both the projects that are on the list and their priorities annually.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Smith.
So just so we're clear, essentially an ICIP is a forward-looking plan. So these projects are actually 2027 through 2031. And then we'll adjust it every year for 28 through 32 and then as we go forward. So these are actually looking out not 26, but year 2027. And it is broken down typically over 5 years. So, some of these projects are several $100 million, and engineering is currently working on actually getting the estimated costs, and we will have those for you at June board meeting.
Thank you. And I will also mention thank you for that clarification and description, Mr. Smith. I believe this also goes hand in hand with when it comes time for the board to decide if we're going to be looking for some sort of grant advisory service to help us with matching funds. If we have a funding source that's provided for some of the things on our ICIP, that we have time to seek the matching funds for that prior to expenditure and construction. Director Chris?
Hold on.
Okay, thank you. Hearing no other comments from the board, hearing no further input from the public, Mr. Smith, is there an action that's specifically required of the board today or
Not today.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is item 8, the manager's update. Mr. Smith.
President. So my update today will be relatively brief. The board currently does not have pictures or bios for the website or the lobby. If there's a picture that you would like to use, please provide it to Marilyn. If you have not provided one by the next board meeting, I will take your picture. So dress accordingly. But we will be at the next board meeting. If you have not provided a picture, we'll be taking pictures of the board. And if you have not provided a bio, I will force you to provide a bio. Or I will write it and you may not like it. Next item on the update is the Texas versus New Mexico hearing. We don't know an exact date, but the next hearing date, as far as we know, is sometime on or after September 18th. And the location has not yet been determined. One other item that I wanted to bring to your attention, Pete's working on it, I'm working on it. The New Mexico Environment Department has begun the rulemaking process for a New Mexico heat illness and injury prevention rule. If you all have not taken a look at that, it will affect not only EBID, but probably all of your operations. Public comment is currently open. We will be submitting comment on behalf of EBID, and you all are welcome to submit comment on your own.
Weston, do you happen to know is that rule currently open for comment?
Yes,
And what's the comment deadline?
I don't know that I've seen a comment deadline. I think it was opened at the end of April, so coming up.
So, Mr. Smith, would it be appropriate to put a link onto our website for our members to know that this is open for a comment period and to direct them to the rule and the comment instructions?
Mr. Lutz, do you see any issue with that?
My first, if I may, I believe the deadline is May 30th.
Wow.
So it's coming up pretty quick. And that's just a quick kind of Google search, so take it with a grain of salt, but it appears that deadline is coming up pretty fast. I don't know if that moots the question.
It's put on the website for 15 minutes.
I would like to know that, and it may be inappropriate to ask you to give us a properly considered response on the spot. But when we have things like this that are, potential changes to the New Mexico Administrative Code that impact the district and would also impact our members, is it appropriate for us to notify our members?
I don't think there's a concern about general notification. I think the deeper concern of the question is if we're staking out a specific position, that that somehow seems out of bounds. But I'm not saying one way or the other, it's just something I'd want to look at more closely before I give you. You have to do it pretty quick as it pertains to the.
Thank you, Mr. Lutz. Comments from the directors regarding this proposed rule and the comment process. Thank you very much. Do we have that item on our closed session agenda?
It is not.
Okay,
Closed session work.
very good.
So just so we're clear, EBID and Carlsbad Irrigation District are coordinating our comments on. We will have those.
Thank you very much. Anything else for the manager's update?
No.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. That brings us to the calendar of events. Mr. Smith.
First item on the calendar is the upcoming tour with the special master in Texas versus New Mexico. That is currently planned for June 17th and 18th. My understanding is the special master will be flying into El Paso and flying out of El Paso rather than flying into Albuquerque as originally planned. I don't know who is invited on this tour. I don't know who attended in the past. My only concern is if the legal review committee is going to attend, which there are 4 of you, and we are going to make stops at 3 different board members' farms, we need to post a notice of potential quorum for both of those days.
Has the tour, I don't know if agenda is the right word for it.
Schedule.
Itinerary. Has the tour itinerary been set?
The only one I've seen is the original special master tour that they did several years ago that I believe they're planning to operate from again, but I haven't seen an updated one. Maybe Pete or DL have, but I have.
Okay. Mr. Lutz, our next board meeting is June 11th. The tour would start no earlier than June 17th. If we determine that we will have a potential quorum, is there sufficient time to post notice?
Intervening weekend is what I'm thinking of. May have to just do the math.
And I mean, we can post a notice of potential quorum.
I think
Regardless.
just to be on the safe side, you want to post just the potential for it.
Yeah.
If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
Right.
So maybe to be on the safe side, the best approach would be just to post them.
Thank you, Mr. Lutz. Mr. Domenici.
I haven't seen anything updated on the itinerary. There's some sort of preliminary emails going back and forth. I think we might want to decide who we want there. I would like to volunteer not to go, if that's possible. I know a lot of other people are sending their attorneys. I don't know if that's essential. I will go if it's necessary, but certainly I don't think we need both DL and I, and maybe neither of us.
Well, I'd like to go because I did a tour about 25 years ago, and I think it's pretty good to understand how the workings work. So, I mean, for me, I'm a visual guy.
So,
Thank you,
so I
DL.
think that would be similar to what other parties are doing, is sending one attorney. So I think that if DL could do it, that'd be great. It just doesn't work for me on my schedule. And then as far as the members, I think we need to advise you as the itinerary comes together, and get your input also back.
Mr. Smith.
My understanding is that this round, they're going to charter a bus.
Yep.
So everybody is in the same place and conversations can be had rather than vehicles and people getting lost and disappearing. So there may be limit on the number of people that can go.
Mr. Esslinger.
Yeah. Mr. President, I attended that last tour, and it went from north to south, started in Albuquerque, actually. This one, I'm not sure if it's just here or all the way to Albuquerque.
So my understanding is we're gonna start at Elephant Butte on the morning of the 17th, end the EBID district on the afternoon of the 17th, and then do EP1 on the 18th. But he's flying into El Paso rather than Albuquerque, and yet not starting the tour in Albuquerque.
If you want, I can help put a tour together because I sort of know the sites that he would probably be looking at or want to look at, but I would certainly offer to help with Josh to put together where I think we can make this thing happen. It just depends on what he wants to see, but clearly there are sites within the district that are more important than others to, and also to get a bus to, if that's the case, so.
Thank you, Mr. Esslinger. I appreciate that, and so I appreciate the offer of the resources there. I'll leave that to Mr. Smith and Mr. Domenici and Mr. Sanders as we're working out the itinerary. I suspect there will be a lot of hands trying to shape the itinerary of this tour. Mr. Domenici, to your question about not attending, I think that's fine and appropriate. I am hopeful that this tour will be about informing the special master of how the world works in our region and not about lobbying the special master from the attorneys involved in the case.
Yeah.
So I think it is appropriate and fine that you don't attend, Mr. Domenici. I'll leave the specifics of that to yourself and Mr. Smith.
Yeah,
For the
Mr. Chairman, on that point, I think it would be unethical for us too. I know there is a sense that could happen, but that's one reason why everybody sends their lawyers. So they want to keep track of what's going on. So yes, I agree with you that it shouldn't be any kind of lobbying, or it should be just a purely informational thing. But it's also good to hear it all at the same time, and you certainly don't want to have people. And I have been on plenty of these tours in my time, and things do get said that you wish you'd been there so you had context for, because sometimes people get worked up about things they don't need to. Other times they are appropriately worked up about them. So it's always an interesting dynamic. So yeah, I'm just trying to emphasize what you said. So for what it's worth.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Mr. Lutz.
And Mr. President, I would just say that you would have time to post the potential notice of quorum after the June 11th meeting. You would have to do it later that day or early on the 12th.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Lutz. With that, Mr. Smith, I will leave it to your discretion about whether we put a notice before or after our next board meeting. If there's further discussion you want to have on this with the board prior to posting that, Mr. Lutz says we have time to do that. Thank you. With regards to attendance from board members, my thought on that as well is that we can determine that at the June 11th board meeting. I'm expecting this to become a very crowded tour very rapidly. And so having a large group there does not necessarily make us more effective. I think we need to try to sort out between now and June 11th, how many folks are going to be on this tour, where we can be most impactful in presenting a picture to the special master about how the world of water works in the lower Rio Grande, as opposed to simply filling more seats on the bus. Yeah, we may need to limit our participation.
I would just say, Mr. Chairman, the purpose of this tour is to inform the special master enough that he approves the settlement, or that he's informed for a 1 or 2 day evidentiary hearing that is going to be conducted after this, probably in September or so, or October, to approve the settlement. So familiarity with the term sheet and sort of how, if it is put into different agreements, and then how that would flow through the operations, I think is kind of the point, or at least one of the points that we'd want the special master to be familiar with. Like, where do measurements take place? I mean, you guys understand better than I do, but it's, this is different than we're going to litigation. We're going to a hearing to approve a group settlement documents that are flowing out of the term sheet that we've negotiated.
Well, these kind of site visits are, Pete's right, but they're like to give them a working knowledge of what it is they're agreeing to, or contemplating what they're. Oh, God dang it! All of a sudden, I'm like, who the heck is on my roof? Sorry, it scared the heck out of me. But they're to give context. So when what Pete said, and like, so he understands. He has a visual of all the things that we are describing in these and the operations of these districts. I mean, of the settlement agreements, and how that is going to apply on the ground. I think that's the point here. And so there should be a lot of discussion about. It should be a technical discussion about the operations of the district. I mean, of the project, and how the water flows from Elephant Butte to Caballo to the district, and then down to EP number 1. I think that is the purpose of that's what he's going to need to know to do what Pete said. So he has context for these agreements, so he understands how they operate better than he would in the abstract.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. So my request to the board would be to be prepared to be available on June 17th and 18th. And as the itinerary develops further, as Mr. Smith has a better idea about what is going to be asked of the district, we can then inject governors into this process as it is helpful. Questions from the board? Mr. Smith, anything further on that?
On that issue, no, sir.
Brings us to our board training. Mr. Smith.
So we have scheduled harassment training for the board on June 25th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. That will be following the second board meeting in June. It's mandatory. Please put it on your calendar and plan to attend. And I will notify our other absent board members that their attendance is required too.
Thank you. And I already have that on my calendar. Madam Secretary, did you send out a calendar invite to all the members? Thank you. So you should all have either an invitation in your email or the calendar event waiting for your acceptance on your EBID calendar. So again, emphasizing it is mandatory per this board. And that's the thing we're doing. Mr. Colquitt.
Say a board member was gonna be out of town during that time or unavailable, what happens?
Mr. Lutz.
Oh, boy. Do I take an online
So,
class?
Mr. President,
Mr. Smith.
I believe we will be scheduling the same seminar for management. I don't know when we're doing that. It's we'll have to ask Elise on that. So if you're not able to attend this training, assuming you're going to be in town when the other one occurs, you can probably attend that one.
Perfect.
Otherwise, we'll have to find your own personal harassment.
There you go. I'll do it, you too.
Mr. Smith, Mr. Lutz, if you would please review what options are for folks that are not, present in the state during the time of that training. That said, things that are generally not acceptable. I was busy, so I stayed on my farm. You've got to be here on the 25th. So we have a board meeting that day anyways. We scheduled it on a board meeting, so you didn't have to schedule another day. This board has determined that this training is mandatory, and we will be complying with our own determination on that. June 25th, 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock in this boardroom. Mr. Smith, I hand the floor back over to you.
Next item on the calendar is the NWRA 2025 Western Water Seminar that will be taking place in Park City, Utah, July 29th through the 31st.
Mr. Rovirosa, I've never attended the summer water seminar. I believe you have, though. Would you like to give any comments on the utility of that conference?
Sure. The Western Water seminar for last year, it was well attended. There were many other irrigation districts there, particularly from Washington, since it was in Washington. There were good speakers. It's good for relationship building across our wider community. There were not senior officials from reclamation. I think it's always good to hear what other people have to say, and the conferences are always well put on. I think it would be appropriate to send one or two people.
Thank you. Mr. Esslinger, do you have any comments on the summer NWRA conference?
Yeah, I agree with Rick Rosa that they're well attended. They certainly, being in Park City, Utah, will probably get a crowd. And travel arrangements there aren't that difficult. Just rent a car from the airport. Scoot up there, it's about 16 miles away from the airport. But with the changes in the federal government, I'm not sure who will be present from the Bureau. Normally, they try to get somebody high up in the Department of the Bureau of Reclamation to attend, but I don't know what they'll do this year. Otherwise, they're always informative meetings, generally a good summer event.
Thank you, Mr. Esslinger. Mr. Smith, do we have an agenda for that conference yet?
I believe there is one available. I've only seen the announcement. I haven't looked at the agenda.
If there's one available, would you have it put in our next board meetings packet? Thank you.
That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the board on the calendar of events? That completes our open session agenda. Are there any other announcements or outstanding open session agenda items which the board needs to bring up or staff?
Mr. President,
Mr. Lewis.
could I circle back to the question about posting the issue on the heat illness and injury prevention rule?
Yes, this was from the manager's update. This is the NMDA rulemaking process, NMED rulemaking process. Mr. Lewis.
What I would suggest, and just inform, since it came up in open session, is informing the public of the district's actions is acceptable. It is not acceptable to use public office assets to promote individual political activities. So if something was done, certainly informing constituents that EBID has submitted these certain comments and indicating what the deadline is would be acceptable under the law. I would be more concerned if something was posted that said, we encourage our members specifically to take this same position and write your congressperson, so to speak.
Given that comments are often finished near the deadline, would it be appropriate for the district to make a very general comment about its position? If the district were, say, generally opposing or generally supporting a rule?
Yes, if it was notification that this is what the district has done related to this issue within the comment deadline. That's perfectly.
Mr. Smith.
Mr. Chair, as far as providing notice on the website, all I would suggest would be notice. Public comment is being accepted on the rule, here's the link. And no position, no direction, no nothing, just for your information, this rule may affect all of our constituents. We're letting you know that comment is open, go make comment. And I don't know that we need to disclose what our position is on.
Very good. I appreciate that, Mr. Smith. I appreciate Mr. Lutz. And I believe it's appropriate to say that the notifications that are posted on the website are within the discretion of management unless specifically requested by this body. So I would leave that to the management of the district moving forward. If the board wants that done somehow differently, we would need to assign the discussion of that policy to a committee and then actually pass a resolution saying this is how we handle the district. But currently, we don't have a policy, and I believe it is well within the discretion of the manager. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Thank you, Mr. Lutz. Anything further for the open session portion of our meeting?
Go into closed session.
Hearing nothing, I have a motion for Mr. Roby Rosa to go into closed session to discuss the agenda closed session items. Seconded by Director Colquitt. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Being present, the ayes have it. The motion passes unanimously. We are in closed session. Madam Secretary, if you would please pause the recording.
The record.
I will entertain a motion to come out of closed session.
Motion so made.
I have a motion made by Director Colquitt, seconded by
Director Ludwig.
Director Ludwig to come out of closed session. Is there, can we discuss that or is that?
No.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We are now out of closed session. For the record, I will state that nothing, not on the agenda was discussed, and the only things that were discussed were on the agenda, and no action was taken. Is there any other business?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn by Director Garai, seconded by Director Colquitt. Is there a discussion there, or, okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's the opinion that the ayes have it. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Have a great day, guys.
Thanks, guys.